Today we're diving into one of the oldest stories ever told. I'm talking about a 4,000-year-old epic about friendship, loss, and the search for what it all means. This is the story of Gilgamesh. You could call him the world's very first action hero.
And that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? How can a story that was literally carved onto clay tablets thousands of years ago still have anything to say about our lives today? Well, the answer, as we're about to see, is pretty much everything.
All right, so let's set the scene. Picture this, we're in ancient Mesopotamia, the city of Uruk, way back around 2100 BC. And the guy in charge is a king who is larger than life in every sense of the word. His name is Gilgamesh.
Now, the epic itself is just an incredible piece of history. It was written in cuneiform, these little wedge-shaped marks pressed into clay, making it one of the first great works of literature, period. You could say it's the original blueprint for almost every hero's journey we know and love today.
So Gilgamesh isn't your average king. Get this, he's 2/3 God. That means he's ridiculously strong, super wise, but it's that 1/3 human part that's the real kicker. See, that's where his pride comes from, his flaws, and his biggest fears. And at the start of our story, that human part of him is making him an absolute tyrant.
The people of Uruk are really suffering under his rule. So they do what you do back then. They pray to the gods for help. And the gods, well, they listen. They cook up a plan to give this king something else to think about.
Their solution is to create a perfect rival for Gilgamesh. They make a wild man, Enkidu, who is literally born from the wilderness itself. He's Gilgamesh's equal, a mirror image designed to finally put the king's power in check.
So Enkidu comes to the city, and he and Gilgamesh have this legendary fight. But here's the twist. Instead of destroying each other, they realize they've met their match. And that rivalry, it turns into one of the deepest friendships you'll ever read about. They become inseparable. And together, they go off on these wild adventures, like taking down the monster Humbaba in the cedar forest.
For the very first time in his life, Gilgamesh has an equal, a true friend. His world suddenly has a purpose that's bigger than just his own ego. But this powerful new bond is about to trigger the biggest crisis of his entire life.
And I really can't stress this enough, this friendship isn't just a side story. It is the absolute heart of the epic. It's the engine that changes Gilgamesh from a selfish ruler into a hero. But their amazing deeds have not gone unnoticed, and they've managed to really tick off the gods.
As payback for their defiance, the gods send the bull of heaven to wreck Uruk. Gilgamesh and Enkidu actually managed to defeat it, which is incredible, but it comes at a terrible cost. The gods decide one of them has to pay the ultimate price.
And so, Enkidu is cursed. He gets sick and dies, and Gilgamesh is just shattered. For the first time, this mighty part-god king is forced to face death, not as some idea, but as a cold, hard reality. And a horrifying thought hits him. If his equal, his best friend, can die, then so can he.
Completely overwhelmed by grief and this new, paralyzing fear of death, Gilgamesh does something drastic. He abandons his kingdom, his throne, everything. He sets off on a desperate quest to find the one thing he thinks can save him: immortality.
This journey takes him to the literal ends of the earth. It's a brutal, harrowing trip. He's looking for a man named Utnapishtim, the only mortal who was ever granted eternal life after surviving a great flood. But when Gilgamesh finally finds him, Utnapishtim has some bad news. There are no easy answers. Immortality just isn't for mortals. So Gilgamesh fails. His quest is a bust. He doesn't find eternal life, but as he walks home toward his city of Uruk, something inside him is fundamentally changed. Turns out, the journey was never really about the destination.
And the transformation is huge. The king who left Uruk was a tyrant terrified of dying. The king who comes back, he's a wise ruler who finally understands. He gets that the value of life isn't about its length, but about its depth, about the people you love and the things you build.
He didn't get what he wanted, but he found what he needed. He learns to actually see the beauty in his short, mortal life, to care for his people, and to build something that will outlast him. And in the end, the great walls of his city, Uruk, that becomes his immortality.
And that is exactly why this story still hits home. It tackles the biggest questions we all have to face, right? The way friendship can completely change who you are, the tough pill of our own mortality, and that messy, complicated, amazing journey we're all on to figure ourselves out.
But the story of Gilgamesh doesn't stop there. Its impact is massive. This ancient tale actually laid the foundation for some of the most famous stories in all of human history.
No, really. You can just draw a straight line from this epic to so many others. A story about a great flood where only one man survives. You see that again in the story of Noah's Ark. A hero on a long, brutal journey home. That's the backbone of Homer's Odyssey. The Epic of Gilgamesh was setting the stage for storytelling for thousands of years.
So it all comes full circle. Gilgamesh found his immortality not by living forever, but in the walls he built and the story he left behind. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? If your story was going to be told 4,000 years from now, what would you want it to say?